Good afternoon, Tampa Bay. My name is Amy Holmesy with My Holistic Club. I hope you're all staying warm. It's we've had some unusual weather here in the Tampa Bay area, about 30 degrees overnight, but it's all good. We are blessed in the Sunshine State. So I want to welcome you to this week's Holistic Highlight through My Holistic Club. And for those of you who are brand new, you may not know who My Holistic Club is. My husband Jack and I started this company a couple of years ago to give back and to help others with their health. We both have personally struggled with some health issues over the years and turned to natural health, and we're extremely passionate about it. And I have a very special guest on the line tonight. But before we get started, My Holistic Club is a membership club in the Tampa Bay area, but it actually reaches around the country because we do have practitioners on our platform, such as our guest this evening, that work remotely. So anyone around the world can work with them. But here's our motto, folks, at My Holistic Club. We are a wellness community bringing together trusted health and wellness practitioners and products to help you achieve balance with your mind, body, and spirit. And that is what holistic health is: mind, body, and spirit. And I have the pleasure of bringing on our guest tonight. This is Dr. Phil Harris calling in from Indiana. But again, he works remotely. He's actually my personal practitioner. We met 2 or 3 years ago now. I can't read you all of his credentials because this is only a short time that we have, but he is a doctor of naturopath. He's a former director of metabolics at one of the top 5 wellness centers in this country. He has published many articles in medical and scientific journals. Also, Dr. Phil has over 120 hours of drugless therapies, and again, has been a naturopath for many, many years. I know you also are a counselor and you work with many people in that capacity as well. So welcome, Dr. Phil, to the Holistic Highlight Show.
Thank you. It's great to be with you.
Yes, well, thank you. Now, working together the last few years, I'm passionate about natural health. I love learning from you and learning from people like you. And I'm so excited to have you on our platform. But if you would, Dr. Phil, explain to the audience what got you started in this field. Like, what made you decide to become a naturopath? What turned you on about this path that you're on?
Well, thanks for asking. Probably the first and foremost thing was I listened to my extended family through the years constantly talk about things that were wrong with them. Even when I was 12 and 13, it seemed like everybody in my family had something wrong with them all the time. And I just got to thinking, this has to be a broken model. Why are there things wrong with my family all the time? And many of them had money and had doctors, but nothing really improved. They just simply kept taking a medication to control certain symptoms. And then my personal family had certain problems. My daughter, for one, she had a pretty serious case of eczema and eye infections, ear infections that kept repeating. On they went. And that drove me to learn more and more about how to stop all this instead of just treatment and topical things and control of symptoms. And then I met a man named Dr. Joel Robbins out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, that was a chiropractor, naturopath, and he began to teach me principles. Now, it's real important to understand what a principle is. Principles are first laws. The word prince means first. It's a first law. That means it doesn't change. It's going to be here even if you don't agree with it. So gravity is a first law. If you disagree with gravity, good luck with managing that. If you step off a 2-story building, that's not going to go so well for you. And so, but there are lots of principles that help us to understand how the body gets well. The next thing was when I looked at different, and I was in ministry for 20 some odd years, got biblical theology degrees, counseling degrees. I was in the music ministry for 20 some odd years, professional guitar player, drummer, so on, songwriter. I enjoyed all that. But as I got further on into my life, I wanted to help people, a lot of sick people, too many sick people. And I began to look at the different types and styles of training. You've got dietitian, you've got clinical nutrition, you've got different modalities. But the naturopath world really caught my attention because it looks at nature to learn about
Mhm.
how we need to be well. And I think that's part of God's design. Nature teaches us a lot of things. And so even looking at animals and different types of species, we can learn a lot about how they should be well and how they get sick. And so that was the reason I went down that road. I felt it was the most foundational, principle based. Then I learned from my mentor about innate intelligence. Now, this is important for our listeners. Innate intelligence is basically the body's way of doing its business every day. Your brain has one particular mode of operation. It's called survival. Now, the brain has a lot in it. It seems complicated, but it really is pretty simple in that it runs on one particular program, and that's survival. And when you know that, you have to treat symptoms differently than as your enemy, because they're not your enemy. Now, that doesn't mean they feel good all the time. They don't. I don't like symptoms either. And it doesn't mean that we should ignore them, because symptoms, just like if you're going down the road smoothly and all of a sudden your car starts to vibrate, that's a symptom. That doesn't mean you should ignore it, but you need to find out the cause. Okay. Why is my car vibrating? Okay. All right. And I don't just need a Band-Aid. I need to fix that in a permanent sense the right way. When it comes to the body, we don't do that very well in the US, especially if we go to the medical field. Now, there's some exceptions. We have functional medical doctors, many of them wonderful, wonderful. They look for the cause. And those are the people I try to refer all of my clients to if they want to see a medical professional. I am not a medical doctor. I am basically a teacher, and we do not diagnose. We basically look at ways to help people reverse problems and to get rid of toxins and poisons and clean up their system. But your innate intelligence is super smart. If I drop a pen or a pencil on the floor, just for me to bend over to pick that up, my body has to talk to itself at 100 million signals per second for me to make that motion. So just think about that, okay? If you took your DNA and connected it together in a human adult, it would go from the earth to the sun 100 times. Just those types of bits of information should stun us at the brilliance of the body. And yet often we don't look at that when we get ready to do something to the body when it comes to medicating or treatment. We don't think about that. We take over, we take charge. The doctor becomes the boss instead of the body. And that's a big mistake. And I won't have time on this call to go into all the details on that, but in some of the upcoming meetings where I'm going to be in Florida with Amy and the team, I'll be discussing that in great detail so you could all come and learn. But that's really very important for us to see. The next thing was something I came up with. I should say God showed me this. I was praying one night in my office a few years ago into the wee hours of the morning, and I heard him say to me, everything's about deposits and withdrawals. And then the whole room stood still. Now, when God speaks to you, he doesn't need to say much, because in his one sentence, he can say a lot. And at first, my mind was kind of unfruitful in the sense of understanding that statement. And then all of a sudden, just like lightning, I began to see what was happening with that statement. I began to see that everybody is a deposit and a withdrawal. So everybody on this call tonight that's listening, you are a deposit and a withdrawal. You say, how so? Well, it's called a sperm. Somebody had to make a deposit, okay? Somebody had to make a withdrawal. That's called a delivery. So if everything in life starts with deposits like that, why doesn't everything that we do have to do with deposits and withdrawals? And it does. So the condition of your mind is based on what is deposited, based on whether you can withdraw anything from it good, or if it's deposited bad, you may withdraw something bad to use. Same way with your spirit, same way with your body. Now, tonight we'll talk a little bit more about the body, since we're on limited time. If you put a donut in your body, which has a lot of problems with it, okay, your body has to manage that because it's not real food, okay? It's different than a carrot or an apple. We'll talk more about that in the up-and-coming meetings as well. But your body has to manage that particular deposit that you made, and it cannot use everything in there, and it has to learn to decipher it and get rid of toxins and poisons and manage it and so forth. So this deposit and withdrawal thing is going to be a big deal. If you keep repeating that method of eating over and over and over again through the years, your body is going to have more withdrawals than deposits, because it's not the right.
And may I interject something as you're explaining that?
Yeah.
when you said that to me, and correct me if I'm wrong,
Mm-hmm.
the body would have to work harder, right? So if the body's trying to get rid of the poison or the junk that you just ate,
Right.
and you do that repeatedly,
Right.
common sense would tell me, therefore, the body's working harder, which puts more stress on. Is that right?
That's an excellent point. Yes. Innate intelligence knows that's not the right currency. So let's use currency as an example. If I go to the bank and I'm going to make a deposit, I have to have American currency.
Mhm.
I can't have foreign currency. It has to be converted, or I can't deposit marbles. Now, in
Mhm.
one of the books I co-authored, I talk about this. You go to the bank, you have really nice marbles. You can argue with the tenant there, but you can't deposit marbles, okay?
Mhm.
Because they'll think you lost your marbles if you keep trying to deposit marbles. You have to have the right currency. The body is no different. The body's designed to run on raw organic foods, primarily from the vine, and we'll talk more about this so you can understand, but our bodies need enzyme-rich foods. Enzymes are what is in live food. So if you cut an apple in half, in just a matter of minutes, the apple starts to turn brown. That's called oxidation. That's the enzymes dying. You cut a Twinkie in half, you set it on a counter, nothing changes. In fact, it has a 12-year shelf life. That should be the warning right away that this is the wrong currency. But a lot
Right.
of people don't care. They only care about taste. They eat for satisfaction instead of longevity, or satisfaction instead of nutrition.
Mhm.
And this is a problem because once your palate becomes acid by eating bad things or having bad attitudes, by the way, as well, you'll be drawn to acid foods. And these are the processed foods, the foods that are overly cooked, treated, and so forth, where alkaline foods that come from the vine don't taste good to people who have acid palates. And so we want to get back around to where if we are enjoying things, it's the right things we're enjoying. Okay. And I could even take that further. This is a spiritual principle, by the way. We should not enjoy drinking strong liquor that would burn the throat of a person who is kind of green in the area of liquor, so to speak. But if you drink enough alcohol, your body is going to adapt to that toxin, and then you're going to be able to drink stronger and stronger liquor. And then eventually you're going to be addicted to that. And this is a tragedy, of course, as you can see.
Mhm. No, I love that. Everything you're saying, it just makes sense. I love the principle of the deposits and withdrawals. And obviously, you want good deposits and you want more deposits than you want
Yeah.
withdrawals, just like your bank account. So I think that's the perfect analogy where most people can relate to it, right?
Yeah, they
You
can,
want more
because
good things coming in, less toxins. Your body's not working as hard. You're not overtaxing your body, right?
right. Well, you're not going to go bankrupt. See, the definition of bankruptcy is having more withdrawals than deposits. And so if you keep on putting things in the body that don't make the proper deposits and the body can't cash in on that, the body's going to have to give up on its reserves. And then the body goes on loan, and then eventually it's going to go bankrupt. And that's what a disease really is. It's a type of bankruptcy, if you will.
Mhm.
And so, and I've proven this repeatedly. Clients come to me, sometimes they've had 4 or 5 different doctors, 3 specialists, and none of them teach these principles for the most part. And they'll be going through regimens and diagnoses and names and drugs and methods, and nothing is really improving that much, a little bit of control of the symptom. But they keep getting worse, spending a lot of money, and then they'll come and we'll talk about principles and get out of the body's way and let innate intelligence take over. And then the body is what heals itself. By the way, no matter what you're using, whether it be vitamins or minerals or any other method for that matter, the body's in charge here. The body's making all the decisions.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
this is a fascinating thing to talk about, and I'll be speaking more about that in the meetings coming up.
Yep, I love that. And the whole thing about the holistic health is it's the whole body. It's
Mhm.
not masking the symptoms, it's getting to the root of the issue,
Yep.
right? And that's where you uncover that and you look at things differently. And we don't have a lot of time tonight, but it isn't about the diagnosis, it's what's going on deep inside the body. And sometimes a symptom might be showing up, but it's actually coming from some other place. So,
Absolutely.
and
Yep.
there's a whole bunch of things we could talk about. The emotional health, right? That plays a big role, not to mention all the toxins. But I want everyone to know you are coming to the Clearwater, Tampa Bay area, February 11th. I have information on that. So if anyone is interested in coming to listen to Dr. Phil, it's a free event. It is, again, Wednesday night, February 11th at 6:30 in Clearwater. I will be posting it on the social media. Again, come out and learn. We're going to have refreshments, and there's no charge for this event. And in closing, Dr. Phil, I want to just share something. You have a whole host of modalities. I know you have a whole toolbox. You work with all kinds of people. Everyone's an individual, different cases. Now, you and I came together, got to meet through this modality here, this phototherapy patch that has changed my life and millions of others around the world. Can you touch on, just for a moment, what attracted you to adding this to your toolbox, phototherapy, with your clients?
Sure. Well, it was shown to me by an acquaintance of mine that was also already part of LifeWave, and I'm not a skeptic. I'm more of a realist, so I try not to be skeptical, because if you're a skeptic, you're going to miss out on some great things. You just have to look at things and be real about it and check it out and see if it's true. You just prove it out. So I told this individual, let me test this on some tough situations, and I took it. I didn't put the patch on myself at the time because there wasn't that much wrong with me. I practiced really good health, and so I took it to a doctor friend of mine about an hour up the road, and I had him to use it on some of his toughest clients. And I wanted it tested on a different set of ground where I wasn't even involved. I wanted his true, response. And within a couple of weeks, he calls me and says, "How do I get more of these?" And so I knew right away he was getting results. Right. And I won't go into all the results, but it was pretty stunning. And then he began to purchase more and more and more, until finally he eventually purchased about $90,000 worth of product and used it on different situations in his clinic. Now, this guy, just so you know, he was about 70 years old. He was a practicing chiropractor and a master's in nutrition. He's not a beginner, and he's not gullible. He knows all the ins and outs and things that are kind of tricky in the world of nutrition. And so he proved it out on his own. But just from that step, I looked at David Schmidt, the founder, and found out that he was very well educated, had a lot of patents. In fact, now he has over 200 patents. He was Suzanne Summers' primary scientist, worked with her to help sustain her life. And you can read about that yourself if you're listening in some of her books. But I found out that he was legit. This was no joke guy. So that also drew me in. And then on top of that, when I understood that it was photobiomodulation, how it works, this is not something new. This is how the sun works when it helps the body to produce vitamin D. So I knew this was also legit. It's not magic. It actually has science behind it. We actually learned about it back in 4th grade when they taught us about the sun and vitamin D. So this started to hit on all cylinders. And then I thought, hey, this is something that I want to look further into. And I'm glad I did, because it's helped support so many of my clients as well as myself. And again, it's support. You still have to do all the other things. You have to exercise, drink water. You can't live on Pop-Tarts and stuff like we talked earlier part of our discussion tonight. But it is a wonderful, powerful, real tool that has a patent and lots of science behind it. So that's basically my story briefly on how I got involved.
I love it. And I always talk about it's simple, effective, and affordable. So, well, I want to thank you so much for coming on here again. MyHolisticClub.com. Dr. Phil Harris is on there. He is an affiliate. You do get a 20% discount with our club. So check that out. He will be in the Clearwater, Tampa Bay area, February 11th at 6:30. And also in Jacksonville, February 12th. Reach out to me, Amy Holmesy. You can find me on Facebook or My Holistic Club Facebook, or Dr. Phil Harris on Facebook. Thank you all for joining us. We want you to be well.